Greetings, my name is Michael Stavrakakis and I'm the singer of Doomocracy from Greece. Welcome to a brand new episode of Addicted to Lists. In this episode, we're gonna be taking a closer look to the legendary discography of Leif Edling, bassist and composer for bands like Candlemass, of course, Crooks, and Avatarium. We will also discuss the new single named Black Star by Candlemass that is coming from the Black Star EP, which Candlemass are releasing to celebrate 50 years of existence. Make sure to stay until the end of this episode to see my rating of Leif Edling's discography. So is the song Black Star that good? Well, unfortunately for me, it is not. It follows the same musical path that Candlemass have been paving for the last 12 or 13 years, which is mainly influenced by the way Leif Edling composes for bands like Avatarium and Crooks. To be honest, I could easily listen to Black Star as a new Avatarium song, but not that much as a new Candlemass song. I find it a bit uninspired, if I may say, at least for the standards that Leif Edling himself has set for the quality of the records of Candlemass. Listening to similar song structures when it comes to Candlemass, at least for an old fan like me, is not that much compelling. This has been going on for many years, at least since the Death Thy Lover EP, when Candlemass music started sounding more like Avatarium and Crooks and not like the old school Candlemass. I do understand, of course, that a band and a composer has to evolve and search new musical territories, but the legacy of Candlemass is that great that cannot be compromised to song structures of Avatarium or Crooks. Not that these bands are not amazing, I love their albums, but when it comes to composing for Candlemass, it has to be Candlemass. Of course, this episode is also about rating Leif Edling's discography from worst to best. I must say that I adore many of the albums that Leif Edling has composed, but some of his later works are not that convincing for me. I must say that these are personal opinions, and if it happens that you like the album that I don't like that much, well, that's fine. We all have our own taste in music. So for me, the worst album in Leif Edling's discography is the album The Door to Doom by Candlemass. I was really longing for this reunion album with Johan Lundqvist on vocals, but I was really disappointed. Johan Lundqvist's performance on Epicus Doomicus Metallicus was one for the ages, of course. I loved his clean and sad notes and his really high notes as well. But his return at The Door to Doom finds him using much more raspier vocals, which are not my cup of tea, to be honest. Leif Edling's only solo work, Songs of Torment, Songs of Joy, released in 2008. The album features some really heavy riffs by Leif Edling, who also takes over the vocal duties, which I wouldn't say it's his strongest part. Next up is the last album by Candlemass, called Sweet Evil Sun. This album once again features Johan Lundqvist on vocals. I think Sweet Evil Sun is a bit better than The Door to Doom, featuring some better song hooks and good performances, but once again the album falls short of the Candlemass legacy. The next album in the great discography of Leif Edling is the Candlemass album From the 13th Sun. I was really surprised when I first listened to this album, and not necessarily in a good way. From the 13th Sun is much more down-tuned and finds Candlemass experimenting with stoner doom, which is not really my cup of tea. Definitely not a typical Candlemass album. But there are some very good moments here, like the song Droid, for example. And if you like stoner doom metal, you should definitely check it out. Leif Edling was the founding member of the band Avatarium. And here we have the second album of the band, The Girl with the Raven Mask. Avatarium features the great voice of Jenny Ann Smith and the incredible guitar work of Marcus Ziedel. And this album features some really cool songs, like the title song, Girl with the Raven Mask, Pearls and Coffins. It is a bit more popular than the debut album, but that's not a bad thing necessarily. A really good album. The next album comes from Candlemass once again. It is the last album to feature Robert Lowe, the singer of Solitude Eternus, who joined Candlemass for 3 studio albums. Robert did a fantastic job in Candlemass as well. He is one of my favorite singers. I love his work in Solitude Eternus, of course. This is the least favorite of the albums that he did with Candlemass, and that is actually why I don't have it on vinyl. I just have the CD somewhere inside. That was the last album to feature Robert Lowe on vocals, and I think the band didn't give any concerts with Robert Lowe to promote Psalms of the Dead. Robert left just after the release of the album, and then Candlemass acquired Mats Leven, legendary singer of Crooks, Yngwie Malmsteen, and many other great bands. This album features some bangers like the opening song Prophet and Dancing in the Temple of the Mad Queen Bee. The next album is another Avatarium album. It's called The Fire I Long For. It's an album that Leif Edling was not really a part of, but he did write a great song for the album called The Porcelain Skull. And this is why I'm featuring this album in his discography. Porcelain Skull has a really heavy opening riff and a really dancing chorus with a great voice of Jenny Ann Smith, who takes it to another level. One of my favorite songs composed by Leif Edling in his later period. And I must say here that I do prefer the Avatarium version of the song much better than the Candlemass version featured on the EP The Pendulum. The year is 1998. I've already been a fan of Candlemass for 8 years, since 1990. And the news strike us that Candlemass are returning with a new album. Reading the news, I saw that the original lineup was not there, nor were there any previous band members. So I was a bit skeptic the first time I listened to it. Dactylis Glomerata by Candlemass. The first song, The Whiz, is a banger. I love the voice, I love the riff, I love the bridge. I really like this song. As for the second song, I Still See the Black, I think it's one of my favorite songs from Candlemass, at least from albums that don't feature Johan Landqvist or Messiah Barkerlin. Bjorn Flotqvist's performance is amazing on this song, and in the album in general, I would say. This album also features the talent of Mike Amott, guitarist of Arch Enemy, and it was supposed to be the second album of Abstract Algebra, an amazing band that featured Mats Leven, Leif Edling, Mike Weed, and Simon Johansson. So from what I've read, this was supposed to be released under the name Abstract Algebra, but there was some problem with the mix of the album. It didn't sound that good. And in order for the label to put more money on the remix of the album, they asked Leif Edling to release it as Candlemass. Next up is the album The Doomsday Kingdom by the band The Doomsday Kingdom. This band was formed in 2016, and other than Leif Edling, features Marcus Edel, the guitarist of Avatarium, and one of my favorite singers since the new millennium, Niklas Stalvid, singer of Wolf. I think I read somewhere that Leif Edling has Niklas Stalvid as one of his favorite singers too, and I'm really glad about that. The album sounds heavy, doomy of course, but fresh as well, and Niklas Stalvid gives a wonderful performance. I would love to see a new album by the Doomsday Kingdom someday. Do check it out. Next album is the album Death Magic Doom by Candlemass. You see the CD here. Back then, when this album was released, I had a damaged turntable and I was not buying that many vinyls. Of course, I would love to have this album on vinyl now, but it costs a fortune. I think it sells for around €150 right now, which is a bit crazy. As if you've seen my video about my most expensive vinyl, you will see that I never paid more than €60 for any album. So if someone of you has this album on vinyl and wants to sell it to me, I'd be obliged. It features, of course, the amazing voice of Robert Lowe. It features some songs that are really heavy and doomy. If I Ever Die is a real banger. The Hammer of Doom, probably dedicated to the legendary German festival, is a real gem. The Bleeding Baroness is another great song, but my favorite song on the album is Dead Angel. It has this really heavy power doom verse followed by a dreamy chorus with wonderful vocal melodies. Next up, we come to the band Crooks. A band that features Mats Leven on vocals. Here we have the band's second album. which I would say is not necessarily my least favorite, as all three albums of the band are amazing, but it is the one that I listen to the least. I talked about how much I was shocked to see the Candlemass return in 1998, but imagine my joy as a Candlemass live fan when I heard the news that the band was returning with what I consider the original lineup, featuring Jan Lind, Mabe Bjorkman, Lars Johansson, Leif Edling, and of course the legend Messiah Markolin. This is the reunion album, named plainly Candlemass, featuring some amazing songs like the anthemic Black Dwarf, like The Witches, Born in a Tank, Copernicus, Assassin of the Light. A really good album, and my joy of listening to Messiah Markolin singing for Candlemass again was immense. Of course, I got to see them live in Athens, Greece a few years back on the reunion tour. It was one of the best concerts of my life. And watching Messiah Markolin commanding the stage and the crowd like I had only seen on videos was jaw-dropping. And I am really thrilled to see him again this September in Athens for a one-off reunion show with Candlemass. Next up, we have the third album by the band Crooks, He Who Sleeps Amongst the Stars. This album has some songs that I really love, like the title song, He Who Sleeps Amongst the Stars, with the amazing performance of Leven and the incredible solo of Fredrik Akesson. You might know him from bands like Opeth and Arch Enemy. I know him from the band Talisman, which I really love. I was thrilled that this was also released on vinyl just a few years ago. I had the CD since it was released, but I'm always happy to find albums that I love being released on vinyl. Next up, we have the debut album of the band Crooks, which happens to be my favorite album of the band. The album was released in 2002, just before the Candlemass reunion shows. It was kind of a surprise for me, as I was waiting for a new Candlemass album. But instead, I saw this first album by Crooks, which I must say is fantastic. Of course, Mats Leven on vocals, giving once again an amazing performance. My favorite song on the album and one of my favorite doom metal songs is the song Omphalos. And someone out there, please release this one on vinyl as well. Next, we visit the debut album by the band Avatarium. I remember watching the lyric video for the song Moon Horse. I was really surprised to see Leif Edling compose music that sounded like Rainbow with a touch of Jethro Tull, and all through a doom metal spectrum. That song sounded fresh. They had these mellow crosses, the amazing voice of Jenny Ann Smith, who I heard for the first time back then, and simply incredible songs like Moon Horse, as I mentioned, Lady in the Lamp. Listen to Jenny Ann Smith's amazing performance on this one. Bird of Prey, anthemic song. Avatarium, of course, with the great chorus. And I was really lucky to share the stage with Avatarium with Doomocracy in 2014 at Hammer of Doom. I was, of course, expecting to see Leif Edling with them on stage, as I knew that he was a member of the band and a composer as well. But from what I understand, he never appeared with them on live performances. Nevertheless, their performance was incredible, and I've been following them ever since. It is the year 2006. I had already seen the Candlemass reunion lineup 3 times, and I was anxiously expecting their next album. So it came as a shock to read that once again Candlemass had parted ways with Messiah Markolin. And then of course came another shock, reading the news that Robert Lowe from Solitude Eternus was gonna be the new Candlemass singer. I had mixed emotions. First, I thought that Robert would be a great fit for Candlemass. I was sure about that. But then I thought that this would bring the end of Solitude Eternus, which pretty much did, at least until the amazing recent Solitude Eternus reunion. So getting past the shock, we come to the album release, King of the Grey Islands. This is definitely the best album that Candlemass did with Robert Lowe. The production of the album is super heavy. There are some incredible songs in here, like Emperor of the Void, Of Stars and Smoke, which is probably my favorite, along with the amazing Embracing the Sticks. If we put aside Epicus Dominus Metallicus and the 3 amazing albums with Messiah Markolin, plus the incredible album with Thomas Wikström, I think this is hands down the best Candlemass album of the new millennium. I consider it a classic. My sixth best album featuring the talents of Leif Edling is the one by the band Abstract Algebra. I mentioned before the album Dactylis Glomerata that was supposed to be Abstract Algebra's second album that was released as Candlemass. But the debut album of the band is one of my favorite doom metal albums of all time. It features an amazing lineup with Leven on vocals, Mike Weed on guitar, Leif Edling on bass, and Simon Johansson on guitar as well. Now you know that Leif Edling is an amazing composer, and you know that Mike Weed, guitarist of Hexenhaus and Memento Mori, and also Merciful Fate and King Diamond, is indeed an amazing composer as well. And the mix of those two is breathtaking. This album could be called epic, progressive, and doom, and it's quite unique, as there are not many bands that I could say that play the same kind of music. The album has some amazing songs like Shadow Play, Stigmata, and of course Abstract Algebra. Never mind the weird album cover, this is a masterpiece. And once again, if someone is watching, please release this album on vinyl. We need this. Now, before I get into my top 5 albums featuring Leif Edling, I have to feature this incredible live album by Candlemass, which is simply called Candlemass Live. This to me is one of the best metal live albums. And for my younger friends watching right now, please imagine that back then there was no YouTube, there were hardly any video clips, even more so live clips of bands. And if you didn't have the chance to see a band live, the only way to know how they sounded live was to listen to a live album. And this one is truly amazing, really got me into the atmosphere of Candlemass. And what is quite unique about Messiah Marcolin in particular is that he has some phrases in each song that he mentions every time. And this thing takes the live experience with Messiah Marcolin to another level. So let's move on to my top 5 albums. I must say that positions 5, 4, and 3 change quite often. My 5th best album featuring Leif Edling is Ancient Dreams. It is the 3rd studio album by Candlemass. It is an album which I adore. It features some of Candlemass' best songs, like Mirror Mirror, one of my favorite Candlemass songs, A Cry from the Crypt, and also Darkness in Paradise. The album cover features the amazing painting by Thomas Cole, The Voyage of Life Youth. And I remember countless hours with Doomocracy's drummer, Minas Vasilakis, and our guitarist, Angelos Giannis, listening to this masterpiece together and just having the best of times. Number 4, at the moment, Candlemass Tales of Creation, the only concept album by Candlemass. Tales of Creation has a wonderful production, an amazing album cover, features a great concept, and some of the best songs that Candlemass have ever produced, with Dark Reflections, Into the Phantom Tower, and my favorite from the album, A Tale of Creation. In this album, we also see Under the Oak once again, a song that was featured on Epicus Dubicus Metallicus, because Tales of Creation was a concept that Leif Edling had in mind even before the release of Epicus Dubicus Metallicus. Number 3, which may come as a surprise for some, is actually the 6th album of Candlemass, named simply Chapter 6. This album was released after Messiah Marcolin left the band, and it features the amazing Thomas Wikström on vocals. It used to be my number 5 best album by Candlemass. But as the years pass by, I don't know, I think the compositions are staying with me longer than the ones on the previous albums. We have The Dying Illusion, stunning song. We have Julie Loves No More, featuring the talent of Thomas Wikström, and of course Where the Runes Still Speak, which is probably the best song on the album. And Thomas Wikström is amazing once again. But side 2 is also amazing, featuring The Ebony Throne, Temple of the Dead, Aftermath, Black Eyes, and The End of Pain, which sadly is not featured in this LP version, but it is also an amazing song. So Chapter 6 is an album that I've come to really love and appreciate, and it sits on my number 3 of best albums from Leif Edling. So the critical moment, which one to choose? The one is a genre inventor, and the other one features the great voice of Messiah Marcolin. Okay, the dice cast. Number 2 is the amazing Epicus Doomicus Metallicus, the debut album of Candlemass that actually invented the term epic doom metal. It features the amazing drums of Mats Ekström, a drummer whose playing I prefer than the one of Jan Lind. I have to be honest here. Mats Ekström for me is a better drummer. His feels and his feeling is much better than Jan Lind. And of course, the performance of Johan Landqvist is one for the ages, as I said. All the songs are doom metal anthems, all of the songs. We have probably the most recognizable doom metal riff, Solitude. We have Demon's Gate, my second favorite. My favorite song on the album might surprise you. It is the song Blackstone Wilder. I think it's a really dark and heavy song. And of course, Under the Oak, A Sorcerer's Pledge, and The Amazing Crystal Ball. I could go on for a long time talking about this album. But yeah, a milestone of an album in heavy metal in general, not just for Candlemass. It is an album which I hold dearly in my heart and I adore. And we come to my number 1 album. Those who know me would have already guessed it even before I started mentioning the albums. It is the album Nightfall, of course. It is the first album to feature the mighty Messiah Marcolin. I think his performance here is stunning. It is one for the ages, one of the top 5 performances in heavy metal in general. The album cover is the painting The Voyage of Life, Old Age by Thomas Coe. Incredible album cover. And the songs are really what stands out in this amazing album. From the incredible and imposing intro Gothic Stone to the opening song The Well of Souls, which was as a listening experience for me when I listened to the record for the first time, a shocking experience listening to Messiah Marcolin singing I bind unto myself today the strong name of the Trinity. Whenever I listen to this song, I get goosebumps. To this day, along maybe with a Memento Mori or a Solitude Eternus song, like Seeds of the Desolate, for example, it is probably my favorite doom metal song of all time, The Well of Souls. And then you have songs like At the Gallows End, fantastic song, Bewitched, with the incredible video clip. You have Dark Are the Veils of Death, that real banger. You have Mourner's Lament, an amazing depressive song. And you have Samaritan, whose lyrics are my favorite lyrics of Candlemass, along with the song Solitude and Blackstone Wilder. I just can't describe how much I love this album. It is one of my top 10 albums of all time. And along with Beyond the Crimson Horizon by Solitude Eternus, Life, Death and Other Morbid Tales by Memento Mori, this is my top doom metal album. So let's move on now to my presentation and rating of Leif Edling's discography, featuring full albums that we just mentioned, but also EPs like The Day of Retribution by Nemesis, Death I Lover by Candlemass, House of Doom by Candlemass, The Pendulum by Candlemass, Moonhorse by Avatarium, All I Want by Avatarium, and the latest Candlemass EP, Black Star.
Generals gathered in their masses.
I've mentioned many times in this video how much I love Mats Leven's voice. He's truly a remarkable singer, and he was great in Abstract Algebra and Crooks. As you saw in my ratings of the EPs that he participated in Candlemass, I'm not a big fan of Mats Leven in Candlemass. I don't think it is his fault. It's probably not the best period of composing for Leif Edling back then. Listening to Mats Leven in Candlemass kind of confuses me, as it reminds me of Crooks, but to be honest, the music reminds me of Crooks. So it is strange. So that was it. I hope you've enjoyed this video, my small tribute to Leif Edling, one of the most important composers in heavy metal history, not just doom metal history, and one of my favorite composers, of course. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and let me know in the comment section your favorite Leif Edling albums. I will see you in another episode of Addicted to Lists. Until then, doom on.